Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Tonight we'll start with a hot button issue, that being surveillance, censorship, and all types of things that are happening online. Now, domestically, we see groups like the FBI trying to break into things like Apple phones. Over the UK, they say they want all technology to have some type of backdoor into it. And now we see that Zuckerberg is meeting with China's leaders trying to get Facebook over there in China. And it says Zuckerberg has held a rare meeting with China's propaganda chief amid a crackdown by Beijing authorities to use the internet, as that's for Facebook purposes. China has called for the creation of a global internet governance system in cooperation between countries to regulate internet use, stepping up efforts to promote controls that activists complain stifle free expression. And Facebook and other social media are banned in China, such as Twitter. Now, to be fair, you don't have to use Facebook. There are other platforms you can use. You can just choose to ignore social media altogether. So take this with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I think it's very disingenuous for these guys to promote it as a free, open commons when they're selling your information or, letting the government use your information for their purposes. And to that point, they're also shutting down people's Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts for whatever reason, because they may post something that's controversial. We've seen numerous reports of people having home visits by police officers or special agents, people even getting arrested. I'm reminded of the story of the young man, I believe he came from the UK. It was on Facebook or some social media saying that he's going to blow up the US, as a, kind of joke. Then he gets here, then he gets detained and then sent back to the UK. They say, no, you're not going to come here and blow up our country. It's like, it was obviously a joke. On the flip side of that, you can look at groups like ISIS who are free and open on social media, and they say they let them run on social media so they can monitor their activities. Meanwhile, they are recruiting people, sympathizers to their cause. So that definitely is a double-edged sword, but at the same time, you don't have to use it. So it's just something to be aware of. They continue to strive to get more and more of your information. I believe it was, they just had the big payout with Gawker and the Hulk Hogan sex tape scandal and that whole thing that was going on. And they're saying that basically Slack, was my understanding, was the information that they're using. Slack handed over all the information to, I guess, whoever wanted it, according to Gawker. So, a bunch of things going on. So just be careful of your online presence. And they are trying to crack down quite firmly on the things that you do online. Now let's talk about President Obama. He is going to Cuba. I believe he's in Cuba right now. And we see that they had some Obama protest. And they say that as President Obama boarded Air Force One for Cuba on Sunday, crowds marched in Miami's Little Havana against the presidential visit to the communist nation. Florida Lieutenant Governor Carlos Lopez-Cantera said that the president's visit to Cuba was a photo op and that since easing U.S.-Cuba relations more than a year ago, nothing has changed. In fact, just before Obama's arrival, more than 50 demonstrators were arrested in the streets of Havana, and they're called the Ladies in White, and they are the wives and relatives of jailed anti-Castro activists who march to mass each Sunday. And it reminds me, they have a group here in Austin, I believe they're called the Ladies in Black. They meet on Wednesdays at the Capitol around noon or so, and they do a similar thing, but I think they more protest wars and things of that nature. So it's not just people, a lot of people say, oh, those are probably Trump supporters out there protesting Obama. They're protesting Obama in Cuba as well. Not everybody is happy about what's going on. And I think it is good to, ease any type of tension with a foreign entity, whether it be Cuba, they can ease things in Russia or wherever else. I think that'd be a good deal, but not everybody's happy about the things that are going on. Like you said, it's just a photo op, said the lieutenant governor. And as we're talking about Obama, let's talk about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. And we see Obamacare returns to the Supreme Court as religious charities fight contraception mandate. It says President Obama's signature health care law once again is coming before the Supreme Court, this time in a case involving nuns who say that the law's contraception mandate violates their religious freedom rights. And I do agree with this. When you talk about things like Obamacare, if you say you have to have it, and I run into these people who say, well, you don't have to get it. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be penalized if I don't get it. So yeah, I do kind of have to have it. Or, it's just like saying you don't have to, have the protection racket, but we're going to break your legs if you don't. It's the same deal. But when you talk about this, They're forcing, I guess in this case, a religious group to pay for contraception, something that goes against their religious beliefs. And you do have a freedom of religion in this country, even though people like to pretend like you don't. And they say, hey, it's against my religion to go with this, and beyond that, you want me to pay for it. And that's always the issue I have with people who talk about things like abortion and contraception. If you choose to have an abortion, I can't stop you. If you choose to live a lifestyle that requires contraception, I can't stop you from doing that either. But at the same time, I don't feel like I should have to pay for it. People say, well, keep your prayers out of my vagina, nuns. Well, I'm pretty sure the nuns would appreciate you keeping your vagina out of their wallets in their purse bags. And I'm also on that. Just stay out of my money. You do what you want to do. I'll do what I want to do with my money. And that's always the issue, because I run into these people and they talk about things like Planned Parenthood. I ran into this lady last week in South by Southwest. She didn't want to talk on camera. She's a nice, sweet lady. I'm sure she had the best intentions in the world. She really believed that she was trying to help people. And I'm sure there are things, if you sat down and gave me the tape of the activities that go on at Planned Parenthood, I'm sure there's some things there that I don't so much adamantly disagree with. But at the same time, they do have the things like abortion. And when you think about the history of a Planned Parenthood founded by Margaret Sanger, who swapped awards back and forth with Adolf Hitler. And I know people say when you bring up Hitler, the argument is over. No, they were, pen pals. They were buddies. This is very relevant to the conversation. She said she wants to destroy the black weeds. They set up all these Planned Parenthood facilities originally in predominantly black communities. They serve a whopping number of black people. I believe they had the story 2-3 years ago. They had more black babies aborted in New York than were actually born. That's a very serious issue. This is my issue when we talk about things like Obamacare, paying for these abortions and all these other things. I really have an issue with that. And people say, well, you have libertarian views. You should let people do whatever they want. You can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't personally affect me. And when you're taking money out of my wallet to pay for your hobbies or whatever else you're doing, pay for your contraception, that affects me. So no, the libertarian argument does not apply in this particular case. So they continue to fight. It's a big issue. It's a real big issue here in Texas. They shut down a lot of clinics. A lot of the clinics are being defunded. People are, protesting in the streets. They're trying to get you to sign petitions to say, hey, we need to keep this Obamacare strong. We need to keep the Planned Parenthood facilities active. And like I said, there may be things going on there that I don't have an issue with, but at the same time, the 3% or whatever the number is that they continue to throw out about their abortion, number one, that's their numbers. That's not an independent audit. That's what they tell you they want, that they want the numbers to be. But also, if it's only 3%, why don't you get rid of that 3%, and 97% of your problems would go away overnight? The majority of the people who go out to these Planned Parenthood facilities and they protest, they're protesting abortion. They're not protesting that you give away, free lollipops at the front desk or free pens at the giveaways. No, they're saying, hey, it's the abortion that's the issue here. So if you get rid of that, your problems may just go away on their own.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash, you're gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for. You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.